Jim Crane is the owner of the Houston Astros. James Click is the World Series winning, ring getting president of baseball operations, general manager for the Houston Astros. And we had a story a couple weeks ago before the playoffs where there was known problems with the Astros. Dusty Baker and James Click didn't get along, and Jim Crane and James Click didn't get along. Little rule of thumb. If you don't get along with the owner and you've chosen to attach yourself to a different ship, it's likely that you've chosen the wrong horse. Could I mix any more metaphors? Try not to go against what your owner wants. And Jim Crane is a very needy owner. And James Click had his own idea, having come from a good GM tree, trying to figure out what to do best after the whole garbage can sign stealing with AJ Hinch being fired, with Jeff Lunau, the GM, being fired. James Click was brought in with Dusty Baker to right the ship. But it turns out the captain of the ship never changed. And the captain of the ship, Jim Crane, owners, there's 30 ships, 30 captains, period. No matter what else you read, the owners are the captains of the ship. If you want change at an organization, with the Commanders, with the Clippers, with the Suns, with the Cincinnati Reds of yesteryear, if you want real change at an organization, it doesn't come until you get rid of the owner. They can do all sorts of things to make you believe that they are trying. We're changing. We're doing things differently. Owners don't change how they do things until they are forced to not do them that way any longer. And the only way a team owner is ever forced to stop doing the things they do and the way they do it is when they no longer own the team, period. They can handle the bad PR. They can handle the losing. They can handle the winning. They can handle the hatred, the jealousy. They can handle everything because they're the owner. Don't forget Ted Lerner's favorite quote. The owner of the Washington Nationals, he is 4 plus at least 10 right now, the most gentle, grandfatherly-like man. When he told me, don't you worry about anything that's ever written about you, David. And I told him I don't. And Ted, I said, you shouldn't either. He said, every one of those people who criticize me, whether they're my employees or the media or the fans, I still wake up tomorrow as the owner of the team. I don't know a quote that can be more on point than that. So Jim Crane, who absolutely knew everything that was going on, no matter what Rob Manfred said in the report, no matter what anybody said about the sign stealing, where he said that Jim Crane knew nothing, like Hogan's Heroes, I knew nothing. Of course he did. The owners know about that kind of stuff. There were a few things Jeffrey Lurie didn't know over the course of 18 years, but guess what? Not too many. So Jim Crane stays, brings down James Click, and all of a sudden James Click thought, hey, in the interview, I was told I could run the baseball side. And then when it came down to it, I could run the baseball side except for the administrative side, which no owners want to do. But when it came time to sign players or meet with free agents or do big trades, all of a sudden the owner is telling me everything. Well, maybe if we win the World Series, I'll get a good extension. Do you remember what happened to Mike Hill with the Marlins? Mike Hill guided the Marlins. He survived the Derek Jeter takeover. He was never one of Jeter's guys. Jeter wanted to get rid of him, but couldn't for myriad reasons, especially because Derek Jeter and everyone he brought in had no idea how to run a baseball team. Only Mike Hill did. So Mike Hill runs the Marlins for a couple of years without me, and then makes the playoffs in the COVID-shortened 2020 season. Stops that horrific stretch of losing that I shepherded and goes and makes the playoffs. Granted, it was 31-29, but they won their first round series against the Cubs maybe in 2020 and then lost in the second round. Fine. The end of the season, Mike Hill's contract was up. We never would have a GM or manager on lame duck status. It's not nice and it's not effective. It's not impactful. I'd rather pay severance than have an employee wondering what's going to happen going forward. But the Yankees don't work that way, and Derek brought that to the Marlins. So Mike Hill was offered a one-year deal by Derek Jeter, and he was offered that one-year deal knowing that he would take it because Jeter thought he could run the team without Hill now and wanted Hill to leave, but didn't want to say, oh, I fired Mike Hill. Jim Crane did the same thing to James Click. He offered him a one-year deal that under no scenario James Click was going to accept. James Click got fired. It's not going to say he got fired because what it's going to say is, and what Jim Crane released is, we offered him a 1-year deal. We didn't come to agreement. We've both decided to move on. That is the single biggest crock of horse hockey that we do as owners and presidents, is tell you that things are mutual. Don Mattingly mutually decided to leave the Marlins this year. Okay. It just doesn't happen. Now, why would Jim Crane, 6 days after winning a World Series, let Dusty Baker come back for one more year? Because Dusty Baker is coming back for one more year. Wait to see, we said, I think. But James Click is not. What makes it that Jim Crane didn't want to give James Click a multi-year deal? GMs on 1-year deals don't work. Year to year with the GM, it's not the right way to run a team. It disincentivizes a GM from doing what's right for both the short and long term when the GM doesn't think he has to worry about long term. For the opposite of that, just go to Billy Beane in Oakland, who not only has a piece of the team, he's been there forever. He's the Brad Pitt guy for Moneyball. And he operates that team knowing that he's got windows that open, then windows that close. They're going to lose 95 or 100 games, but then they're going to make the playoffs 3 years. Then they're going to lose for 3 years. But when he knows he has job security, he can plan for both, build for both, know when you shouldn't be hanging on a year too long, know when it's time to sign players and add to your core. That is a great way to run a team. In Tampa, no one runs that team scared of losing the job. They understand that they've got an owner who understands what it is to win and what you need to win. Jim Crane was so busy worrying about winning this World Series, hoping that you would forget about 2017, hoping that all the other owners would forget about 2017 so he could walk into an owners meeting wearing the 22 ring instead of the 17 ring, which he knows whenever the Dodgers and Yankees and other teams would look askance. Now we can wear the 22 ring where they had 21 different players, or 21 out of 26 different players from 17, and just say, look at me, I'm a dynasty. But look at me. This isn't about James Click. We'll let Dusty Baker have his moment. First managerial World Series, Hall of Fame. Way to go, Dusty. But no, this entire World Series and that entire team is about Jim Crane. Never exhibited more than what he did to James Click. There are some rumors going around that other top quality executives would not want to take that job now. Because, wow, would you really want to work with Jim Crane, or would you really want to work with a team that does that to a GM? There's only 30 jobs. I promise you, people want the Houston job. People want the Marlins job. People want any job because it is so hard to get. The rationale behind what Jim Crane did to James, it's simple. Your question is a simple one. Explain the rationale. He didn't like Click. He wanted a sycophant. Jim Crane, like many other owners, want to surround themselves with sycophants. And if they've got a president in place or a GM in place who's not one, then they want people below those candidates, those levels, who are sycophants, who somehow can switch positions. Yeah, that's how it goes.